The first thing I learned about alien royal palaces was that they were far too quiet for places where one wrong sentence could end a life. My boots echoed softly along the polished floor as I followed the palace attendant through a corridor made of metal that shimmered like liquid starlight. Floating lamps drifted lazily above us, occasionally bumping into each other like confused jellyfish. "Do not speak unless spoken to," the attendant said calmly. "I'm a translator," I replied. "Speaking is sort of my entire personality." He stopped walking and slowly turned his head toward me, his long ears twitching slightly. "That was a joke, right?" I added. He continued walking without answering, which I decided was alien for. "Please stop talking before you get vaporized." The corridor opened into a massive waiting hall. Tall crystal pillars reached toward a ceiling so high it felt like standing inside a spaceship hangar. A holographic projection shimmered across the far wall, showing the ruler of this entire star system, the Queen. I leaned casually against a pillar while waiting for the diplomatic meeting to begin. The other humans were busy whispering about protocol, trade agreements, and how not to accidentally start an interstellar war before lunch. Meanwhile, I stared at the projection. The Queen looked almost human, but not quite. Her silver hair flowed down her shoulders, and her long ears curved elegantly upward like something out of a myth. Her eyes glowed faintly as she spoke to someone in the recording. I folded my arms and shook my head slowly. "The Queen is so beautiful," I muttered under my breath. Then I sighed. Seriously, if Earth had rulers that looked like that, elections would be a lot simpler. A voice behind me said very calmly, "You believe so?" My soul immediately left my body. Slowly, painfully slowly, I turned around. The Queen was standing behind me. Not the hologram, the real one. Her eyes watched me with quiet curiosity, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly as if she were fighting a smile. I stared at her. She stared at me. My brain began rapidly searching for something intelligent to say and instead produced absolutely nothing. Finally, I pointed at the hologram behind me. I was talking about that one. For 3 full seconds, no one in the hall breathed. The diplomats behind me froze like statues that suddenly regretted existing. I briefly wondered if alien prisons had windows, because I enjoy sunlight. The Queen looked at the hologram, then back at me. "So," she said calmly, "you admire my holographic twin?" "Yes," I replied instantly. "She seems very responsible." A faint smile appeared on her face. "Interesting," she said. "Most visitors are too afraid to speak honestly. That's because they're smarter than me." One of the royal guards shifted slightly, probably calculating the best angle to remove my head if necessary. The Queen raised a hand, and the guard relaxed again. "What is your name, human?" she asked. "Daniel," I said. "Professional translator. Occasional accidental diplomat. An accidental compliment giver," she added. I nodded slowly. "That's a side skill." For a moment, she studied me with quiet curiosity, the kind scientists probably use when observing animals that might press the wrong button and launch a missile. Then she turned toward the hall. "Come," she said. "Walk with me." The entire diplomatic delegation looked horrified. Apparently, no one had ever been invited to walk beside the Queen after complimenting her. I followed carefully, wondering if this was the royal version of walking someone to the execution chamber. The palace corridors twisted endlessly, filled with glowing symbols sliding across the walls like living constellations. Small drones hovered overhead, carrying documents and cups of something that smelled like tea but looked slightly radioactive. "You study languages," the Queen said. "Yes." "Then tell me something about humans." I thought for a moment. "Well, we panic easily. We invent strange desserts, and we solve half our problems with coffee." "Coffee? It's a dark liquid that gives humans the power to function before noon." She tilted her head slightly. "Your species requires chemical motivation to exist." "Absolutely." She laughed. Actually laughed. 2 passing guards stopped walking and stared at me like I had just broken a law of physics. "Daniel," the Queen said, still amused, "I believe you may be the most unusual diplomat our empire has ever hosted." "That's comforting," I said, Because I'm definitely the most terrified one. She stopped walking and looked out across the glowing city beyond the palace. Then she said quietly, "Good. Honest people are more useful than careful ones." I had a feeling that statement was about to cause me serious problems. The alarm klaxons blared across the palace, but not in the chaotic way I'd expected. Instead, the hallways hummed with controlled tension, like a spaceship preparing for launch. An alien fleet had appeared near the Empire's outer borders, their ships casting faint greenish shadows against the stars. The court erupted into arguments, advisors shouting over military projections, generals waving their long ears frantically, and one scientist insisting that a planet-wide bubble shield would definitely work if we just ignored basic physics. I stood near the Queen, trying to remember if my job description included human who prevents interstellar war by accident. Apparently, it did not. She turned her glowing eyes on me. "Daniel," she said. My name sounded strange in the hush that followed. What would humans do? Every alien in the chamber turned their long ears toward me. I swallowed. "Well, we usually panic first," I said. "Then we talk a lot, sometimes over coffee, and occasionally we win by confusing everyone with odd behavior." A nervous chuckle spread through the room. "Confusing behavior?" one general asked. "Yes," I said, leaning forward. "Your enemy might be expecting predictable, elegant alien responses. Humans aren't. We improvise. We make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes work out better than a perfectly planned attack." The Queen studied me silently. Then she smiled. Slowly, carefully, she smiled. Her long ears twitched as if they approved. Orders were given. Communications opened. And miraculously, the opposing fleet responded in kind. Negotiations, tense but surprisingly civilized, began. Within days, what could have been a devastating war turned into a tentative alliance, brokered by a human who had spoken without thinking, joked without planning, and somehow survived. Later, the palace settled into quiet again. I found myself on the balcony overlooking the city, its floating gardens and shimmering towers reflecting off the calm water channels. The Queen joined me, her long ears catching the soft breeze. "You know," she said, "your first comment about me was bold." "I know," I replied, rubbing the back of my neck. "I nearly died for it." She laughed. The sound carried lightly, a mix of amusement and approval. "Yet it seems honesty can be useful, even from someone as unconventional as you." I realized then that I had changed. I was no longer just a translator or a nervous human trying to survive in an alien court. I had learned to trust my instincts, to speak when it mattered, and to laugh even when the stakes were cosmic. The palace no longer felt intimidating. It felt alive, unpredictable, and strangely welcoming. The Queen glanced at the stars above, then at me. "Daniel, humans are peculiar.